Call this meeting to order, special meeting to order. Ms. Weirich, would you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Anthony Natantillo, Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor, and City Treasurer James Wisman.
Thank you. Ms. Tantillo, I think at this point, I'll just turn it over to you to present the material you sent to us and I can give it out.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
and it's on the
Screen, the budget is also, the budget drafted and the presentation are also on the website, so anyone is welcome to look at that. So what we're gonna do tonight, and just a reminder, we started our budget season last week, where we just discussed potential options that were presented to us by the University of Delaware students, to raise revenue in the city. These were just options and decisions were made, they were just recommendations. And additionally, we discussed preliminary assessment numbers. Tonight, we're gonna go over the budget itself, that we have drafted for you. And then next week we'll return and we'll get your feedback as council members. If you have suggestions or requested edits, we will, talk about that. We are probably going to move the rollback rate adoption to the first meeting in June. Just because we'll have a better picture and we want to make sure that we can do this completely. We're probably gonna have to do that via ordinance instead of resolution as we originally discussed. Then we'll meet again in June, to finalize the budget, and then we'll have a couple meetings to work through that. I know it's unusual to adopt it via an ordinance, the tax rate, but the state code requires that for this process. So
That's interesting. I mean, we
So
never.
that's 2 months then. The way we do ordinances, first reading, second reading.
we'll have time with the budget meetings. That's how we'll do it.
We'll just, yeah, there's no required space between the two.
We have to get 15 days notice.
Okay.
And that's
I
what-
was just about to ask, can it be adopted on June 30th meeting for both adopting this one and then separate resolution effective 15th of July? So we'd have to meet again
I'm sorry, for what?
for the
Well,
rollback rate and then whatever.
We would
the
all be
rate
at
is.
work now.
I guess what I'm saying is like, is there a need for July meeting for that or can it both be done
They
on
can
June
both be done
30th?
in
Yeah, we have to be done by the end of June.
I know, I just wanted to know if there's a
So
special
the
session.
caveat to that
needs
is
to
if there's any changes from the county and their numbers, that may delay us, we may have to go into July, but we should approve the budget in June, and then we'll work on it. for
We may have to amend it or whatever.
Right.
So
That's perfect.
all of these years, when we did this by resolution, when we adopted the budget, and there was room for a tax increase, but it was 0,
Mhm.
that would have been wrong all
No,
those years?
no, that's not
Because of the
necessarily wrong.
reassessment?
Because of the reassessment,
Okay.
we have to adopt the rollback rate via ordinance and then should effectively adopt the new rate via ordinance. There's nothing that we did wrong.
Okay.
And then just going forward, since we are gonna do it via ordinance, we should just
Well,
continue.
can we do the first reading of both ordinances at the same
It's just one
meeting?
event.
Oh, to state the rollback rate is X, but we're proposing a rate of Y
Yes.
and so on.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the difference between
One
the
effective
two.
from this date, one effective 15, I don't know, July.
Correct. Yep.
And I guess it should be stated that this isn't trying to squeeze everything into a time frame where you're trying to slide it by the residents. It's because of this reassessment and the numbers still, even though we have this, is still not final.
Correct.
But
And we've been
that
transparent
people
about
are
this
still going
beginning
through
of the year.
appeals and everything. And so those numbers could change between now and June 30th.
Mhm.
So it's not trying to sneak anything in, it's just we're being
waiting on
held,
that.
you know, to whatever standards
Right.
that we're prisoners of the county tax. sort of.
Yeah. All right, so I am going to present the budget. I will give an overview and then I'll go through all expenses, the revenues, comparison between this year and last year, and then potential tax increase. I will start with just an overview of the proposed budget. The budget is proposed at $7,438,598. The expenses, I'll go through line by line. And then the revenue, just at a glance, we have a proposed tax revenue of $4,750,350, and all other revenue proposed at $2,733,248. So expenses. This is a chart of all of the expenses for the upcoming year. And you can see our largest two sections include public safety and public services. So that includes our police department, our public works department, our building and code enforcement departments. So the public safety expense is 44% of our budget, which equates to $3,235,812. We're seeing an increase of $382,748. And this includes salary increases, a health insurance increase, which is approximately 4%, and new vehicle lease, 5 new vehicle leases for the department.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, year-over-year increase number 382 right here on the?
382,748.
Okay.
Okay.
56.
Oh,
Flipping
thank
page.
you, thank you.
Next, we have public services and the public works, parks and properties expenses, which equal 26%. The public services department is 21%, which is $1,579,466. We're seeing an increase here of about $157,794. And again, this includes salary and health insurance. The public works, parks and property is about 5% of the budget, and that equates to $337,700. This actually includes a $116,052 decrease due to not budgeting for additional equipment. And we have a rollover of the funds for the game tables and benches, which were discussed at the last budget season. And we also included $28,000 for the tree committee and $2,000 for the city beautification. Next, we have capital outlays for both public safety and public service. Public safety capital outlays is only 1% of the budget at $109,678. We're seeing a $9,352 decrease. And the public service capital outlays is 7% at $500,684. We're seeing a $7,312 decrease. This includes funds to either end the vehicle leases and close that out, or to renew 2 new vehicle leases. We're working with our agency who does the leasing for us to determine what we're going to do, what's going to be the most cost beneficial, what is going to be the best for those vehicles in terms of long-term maintenance, and how we're going to continue that. And then the sweeper loan will end mid-year, so it's only budgeted for half the year, which is why we're seeing a decrease. Next, we have the mayor and council and the clerk and treasurer sections combined. This includes $136,384 for the mayor and council section, which includes $98,500 for city contributions. Overall, we're seeing a $37,325 increase in sections. We did increase the flood resiliency committee expenses to allow for the engineer to participate in their meetings and other activities and projects such as the grants and meetings related to flood resiliency. It's really important for them. And they, let us know that at their annual report. The contributions, you have their detailed requests in front of you, but I will just go through the list. We have a request from RSAPA for $2,500 to continue their wreath workshop. We have Goodwill Fire Company at $50,000 for operations and engagement in citywide community events. We have the library at $10,000 for a Newcastle shared weekly calendar display that they're proposing. We have the Historical Society at $20,000 for operating expenses. We have the Senior Center at $5,000 for exercise programs, and we have R4 at $5,000 for operating expenses. And lastly, we have Community Collaboration of Delaware at $3,500 for a proposed Safe Street Summerfest in the Buttonwood community. So we can talk more about that as you'd like. This is just an at a glance request from each of the nonprofits. Next up, we have the administration department, which includes the finance costs, administration and HR expenses. This is 10% of the budget. Finance, we budgeted 45,000 for the annual financial audit, which we did increase due to increased expenses on this year's audit process. This just has to do with, costs, rising costs. The administration department is 673,864, which includes increases for salaries and health insurance, again, approximately 4%. And then HR, 11,800. Overall, we're seeing an increase in these three sections of 42,939.
So the HR is the consultant that.
Yes, the HR consultant. She consults with us on any HR issue we may have. She provides training for us. Most recently, we just had citywide for all of our employees anti-sexual harassment training, which we're required to have. Next, we have the Board of Adjustment expenses, which is only 0.5% of
Right,
the
can I ask-
budget.
Do we also have a cybersecurity training by any chance?
Yeah,
anywhere?
that's through IT.
Okay, perfect.
So he'll send out, random pretend spam phishing emails. Yeah, so Board of Adjustment expenses are only 0.5% at $7,000. We did decrease this line by 4,000. This is kind of a variable line, which is sometimes hard to budget for, because you never knew who was going to apply for an appeal or anything like that. But based on trends, this is decided to go ahead and do. We have the building maintenance expenses at 3% of the budget, totaling 198,500. We did increase this line by 50,000, and this includes regular building maintenance, carryover of additional funds for capital reserves for repairs, and then we added 50,000 to that line as well. Insurance expenses is 4% of the budget at $264,500. We did see a decrease of $62,500 here, and we still also budgeted for a 10% increase from actual expenses from last year. Last year, due to the unknowns with the impact on the workers' comp insurance due to increased FOP agreement, we weren't sure what the actual insurance would be if we got it after the budget was approved. So we were able to reduce that now that we know actual numbers based on this year, and then increase that at 10%.
Is that also showing an actual for this year, or is it closer to the 150 that was budgeted for?
No, it's showing actual.
Like in 2025, I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, we have the professional and contractual services at 2% of the budget, equaling $175,000. We did increase this line by $45,000. This includes legal services and engineering services.
So can I ask question about flooding committee? Why wasn't that added here instead of in the
Because they-
committee?
That's always where it's been
Okay.
budgeted for. And this is like professional and contractual services, how it's set up. And on the budget is legal, engineering, and then there's another specialized line. But we always put it there since it is something different.
Is it, but is it the same person? Is the same city engineer in both
Yeah.
lines?
It's a
Okay,
different engineer.
gotcha.
I mean, they all work as a team, so if one's unavailable, someone else on the team will fill in.
But it's all from
It's
AECom, right?
specific person from AECom, Emily Denbrough, who's attended some of our meetings, and she's most familiar. with the flood.
She's a floodplain management expert, whereas the engineer would need help with things like street management and that kind of thing, has different skills.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking it would fit here because it's contractual services, but I mean, yeah, it's the same
It's
thing, I
just-
guess.
That's specific for those efforts.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's city under this section, it's city engineers, city solicitor, contract negotiations, for the tech. So there's no other specific engineering. on there.
Thank you.
We next have the planning commission, historic area commission, and board of health expenses at 0.1% of the budget. The planning commission is 44,500, and this includes items related to the comprehensive plan 5-year review. As we're going through that right now, we have the historic area commission at 35,200. We did increase this section to increase the architect line, as we are seeing increased expenses there for additional hack reviews and for just consulting for half. And then we have the Board of Health at 2,590. They did ask for some funds to be allotted for them to do community engagement and be involved and do some outreach. And maybe have some experience. Next, we have the accrued benefits line at 0.003% of the budget. $25,000 is budgeted here, and there's no change from last year. That's an overview of the expenses. You see the chart on the next page on slide 17.
You mean 2026 versus 2025?
Yeah, what I said.
2025 versus 2025.
Sorry. You can see
Right
this-
below.
You can see this year versus last year. And you can see where the increases lie and some decreases. And there's a note on every slide that shows these that, you know, these numbers are not finalized, so just keep that in mind. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, everything's available online if you'd like to look it up.
It's about $400,000 difference increase than percentage rise from the last year.
Yes.
I'm guessing about 6%, 5% maybe.
Yeah, it's about 400,000. So next up, we have revenues. So I'll just go through again the tax assessment slides that I went through at the last meeting. So the previous assessed value was 260,648,423. And the new assessed value accounting for some at-risk numbers that the county is, reconsidering is 1,290,661,167. With that being said, we have the old tax rate.
Question about that. In last meeting, somebody mentioned that it's about 40 properties that are being appealed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it possible for you to get a list of those parcels from the county or Tyler?
Mhm.
Just so we can kind of have a sense of what is the total impact of that, like as we're planning the rate? You know, if it's all industrial, it might be a bigger rate.
This spreadsheet with all of the numbers.
Oh, so the after
Like
risk,
the
at risk,
at-risk,
okay,
yeah.
okay, you already have it, perfect, that's awesome. And that's just assuming that they're,
How do we identify those?
It's on the last page and that address number.
did you identify that basically using their 1983 instead of, like, there's no, how did you come up with a 2.5 million?
So we just calculated the at-risk loss number that they gave us,
Okay,
which is, the county said that their value is one thing, they are saying that it's another. And
oh, so you're getting the value they're dealing with, that's awesome, perfect. So the rate you're proposing, this is ahead of time now, then it's already counting for that.
Yeah, because we don't know, it's an unknown right now, so we can't think on that.
Thank you.
Okay, wait, something was on the last page,
Yeah,
but
but
the
I'm not
last
finding
page
it
of, we've got multiple
On the
factors.
spreadsheet with all of the assessed value.
And I don't see any asterisks, that's where I said first.
So it's at this,
That's
Second
how
page
it's
of this.
about-
No, it's not that one, it's this.
yeah, so the one with City of Newcastle logo, second page, where it says total at risk value 2. Let's say 5 million, 2.449. That's what I was just asking about, like, what is the impact of these appeals potentially? So that's the, go ahead, sorry.
Everyone find that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was looking at this one too,
So
so.
at risk, this is provided by who's appealing,
Yes.
a property owner, I guess. Third come 40.
All right, so, based on knowing the at-risk value, we have the, estimated assessed value at 290,661,167. So that would bring our rollback tax rate to 0.240187. To get the same revenue in taxes that we got last year. So with that being said, and having our budget at 7,483,598, we have that other section, for the tax, for the revenue of 2,100,000 $4,733,248, which leaves us a remaining balance of $4,750,350 to make up for in some other way. So we are going to propose a new tax rate of 0.3678158, which is a very long number. But that gets us to an estimated tax revenue of $4,750,350. So this is a break-even amount, so this will balance our budget. This does not account for any future changes that we may make at other meetings. It doesn't account for additional savings or additional funds that have been proposed and are on the council agenda for their next regular meeting. Doesn't account for anything like that because it's not, the decision hasn't been made on whether or not we're doing any of these things. It's just to balance the existing budget that's in front of you.
And this is the 1.65 million gap is already including the ARPA funded projects like remainder of dog park, playground.
Yes,
Chess,
so in the $2,733,248 that what's it called, restricted carry forward, which carried forward the amounts that we had budgeted for in the 2025 budget, which included items that were funded by ARPA or other items that we funded in the
like the
budget.
study that we added recently for flooding, right, like in
Yes.
one of the regular meetings.
Sorry, no, that's not budget.
I thought that we added it in one of the meetings,
We
2
said
meetings
we
ago.
would obligate it, but we didn't put it in the budget.
so that's potentially coming up as an additional line, okay?
So, yeah, so those funds are already accounted for. Nothing that was previously approved in those, carry forward items are going to be funded by this new tax revenue.
That's good to know, just so we're, as we're communicating to the public that this is not, the potential tax increase is not due to projects that were already funded in a prior year.
Yeah, correct. So the difference between the rollback amount and the new proposed rate is 0.127360603. And this brings in additional tax revenue in the amount of $1,650,350. So this chart has a lot of information, so sorry for all the lines, but some sections are smaller than others. As you can see, the property tax revenue is 63%. We also have the MSC appropriations, which are a large chunk at 11%. And most other items are much smaller.
The MSC appropriations, that hasn't changed.
I'm gonna get there.
Thank you.
So, yes, MSC appropriations did change because their rates changed, they increased. So the revenue that they're bringing in increased, which impacted what they're going to give to us.
Okay,
So it's
thank you.
about 200,000 more, I believe.
Yes.
But of course, their expenses increased as well, so.
So we have, I don't know if you want me to go line by line, but of course, again, the most prominent one is the tax revenues and then the smaller items.
Sorry, I'm keep
Yeah.
asking a lot of questions, but I'm just thinking about the gap.
Mhm.
Are we having any contract negotiations in this coming up year that would be effective in that, during that year at any moment?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
We are considering
Just want to understand
possibly
this.
one RFP, but we have not done that yet and we don't know.
Okay.
But we did include a slight increase in that line.
And I ask this
thought you
every
were
year.
talking about
Go ahead.
union contracts.
Oh,
Yes, union contract, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
That's.
Public
we do
Works,
have
right?
one,
yes.
And that's not, we're not accounting for any contingency in here, that,
It won't go
It
into
won't go into
effect
effect
until
till
next
next
year.
year.
okay, that's,
The negotiation is this year, but it would take effect July of next year. It'll be in the next budget.
that's basically where I was going with it. Thank you. Joe.
Mhm.
I ask this every year, but pay job reimbursement, and we get that, it's a wash off, right, in
It's a
the,
lot. Yeah, so it's equal on the expense side and the revenue side, and that's when people contract our police department for their, private events, or church events or other events they'd like to have. We are seeing an increase in those requests, which is why those lines have increased.
yeah, I saw the increase, but I also kind of feel like I remember this being a wash.
Yes, definitely. So if you go to the bar chart, which is the 26 versus 25 comparison, you can see the increase in the tax revenue. and the increase in the MSC appropriations. And you can also see the unreserved fund balance carried forward, which does not have a bar for this year, because we're not proposing using, the unreserved fund balance carried forward, which was money from our savings. We're just proposing, an increase in the tax revenue and to discontinue the fund balance carried forward for this project. So with the, new tax rate, we wanted to provide some samples of potential bills that our residents will receive. And again, just remember, this is an estimate. This is not a finalized amount. It's just based on what we know thus far. So the lowest bill that we have is at the old assessed rate, 1.2 $1.20, and at the new assessed rate would be 37 cents. The highest bill at the old assessed rate is $111,434.04, and the potential new bill is $144,187.84.
This is, I'm guessing, from industrial property.
And then the average potential new bill would be $1,771.77. And these are just some samples. As mentioned, the spreadsheet in front of you has every parcel and their old assess rate, their new assess rate, and then the impact of the new bill, and also displays their old bill.
I'm sorry, just on the average, so
Yes,
the old average bill was $532,
yes,
and now the new average bill is gonna be 3 times that?
yes.
Because the assessed
Because the
value
assessed value
went from 44 to 481.
And this is based on the 0.36,
Yes,
whatever
and
is
change.
proposed, yes.
Like
Yeah,
for-
that doesn't have nothing to do with the assessed rate, it has to do with the tax rate. But it still seems hard to believe
Has to
that,
do with both.
Yeah,
Yeah, do you know
The
what
tax
is a,
rate and the assessed value rate. The higher the assessed value is, the more the taxes.
understood it's gonna be higher, but they're getting increased $1,200.
No,
And that's on the average side. So that's a huge impact.
it is.
So
this is accounting for the recommended tax rate? Do you have a
Yes.
sense of what this is as a rollback rate, 0.24? Like, is it 1,200? Is it? Just curious what that new.
If it was
Without
0.24
increase.
instead of 0.36.
Like, what is a
in other
rollback?
words,
Yeah.
Like,
The even,
Oh, it evens it out. You wouldn't have an increase. in-
evens
well,
out.
that doesn't.
no, it doesn't, no, it could go up.
Oh.
Your
Just
your
3.1
tax could
million.
still go up even at 0.24.
Yeah.
Because some properties went up and some properties went down. It's just revenue neutral for the city as a whole, not for individual
Right.
properties.
So like, for instance, my property value in 1983 was 77,400. It's now 322,000. So that's like 4 times.
So
Yeah.
the rollback rate would be $1,156.08.
Say that again?
About,
You do that again?
1156?
yeah, 1,156.08.
Thank you.
And that's just, I didn't do the whole 0.24,
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
just did 0.24.
Yeah,
So it's just enough for that.
That's still a huge increase that they're getting hit with. Even with the
So
basic. Let me just, it's, maybe my logic's off. I look at the old assessed value at 44.4, which I understand, and their old bill was 532.80.
Yeah.
So it gets reassessed, and then we said, all right, we see where the rollback rate is, so we can even it out, so we can go to 0, we'll say, or.
The rollback rate will make you have the same revenue, so the
Yep.
3.1 million at the previous rate and the 3.1 million. at the
That we're
new rate.
just a rate, you're moving the tax rate lower to make the numbers work out,
Mhm.
which I understand. But then so theoretically, we're back to square one with the rollback rate. And I look down this list of properties and I looked through quite a few of them today. And I see, we'll go from 600 to 900, 600 to 1,000, 200 to 300. I don't see any tripling. There's no way that we're going from 532 to 1777.
I have the same thing. I have 530 from the current and 680 that I did analysis, like the new, the rollback, sorry, not the
Mhm.
So that's what I'm seeing from the spreadsheet that I received with the
So
parcels.
I don't discount the old bill being average at 532. It's hard, I don't know.
We'll double check
Mhm.
on that one.
Because, yeah, from, at
But-
0.24, it a little more than doubles from 532 to 1156. But then, the
We need a better way of looking at these averages of hitting the community. I don't know if we hit like two different households on each individual street so we can see what's going on. But again, going back to our friends in Boothurst, they were complaining about $250 that they're paying for their homeowner association. I'd like to see what a potential couple houses in there that are getting stats and changed. I mean, again, they went from like 195, I think, to 250 and having issues. We really need to take consideration of all parts of our community and with all this.
We absolutely do, but we also have to remember that we haven't raised taxes in so long, and we have to accommodate for our budget and the services that we're providing. So I completely understand that and respect that, but I just wanna make sure that we,
So I'll just throw it out there. I know we're looking at this new rate. Where's the new rate that we have here?
0.36,
The
yada, yada, yada.
0.36. It goes on and on and on. We need to think of our people. Things are changing in our world. And I know we don't want to take from our savings, but maybe we need to reduce that in half so that we're still taking from our savings a little bit, but yet we're still raising it a little bit to get there. And then
To
next year,
step it up.
to step it up.
Instead of one
So-
big jump, yeah.
Yeah, instead of one big jump. So I know we took 1.25, I think, last year. Maybe we can bring that to 750 or something so that we can have a little less impact on our people. But we need to take that into consideration.
okay. As I said, this is not our final decision, we still have to work
Absolutely.
through the budget, so we'll certainly consider that.
But there's also meeting the budget and there's with doing, even that, but you also have to, that's just meeting the budget and not really planning ahead for what we're needing, which you also have to do.
We gotta get there, but we have to think of the people here. So.
Well, I mean, the tax bill affects everyone, well,
That's
almost
all of
everyone
us.
sitting at the table, so.
But we have to think of the people in our town and day to day, we have people working paycheck to paycheck. So we need to take that into consideration to maybe slowly bring this up somehow.
It may be different on these averages if we looked at the average for just residential too. Because obviously the
yes.
commercial skews the numbers, but I would really like to see what the average residential customer
Sure.
was paying in the average residential. What kind of increase is going to actually happen to affect them? Is it a couple $100? Is it $800?
Can I read off what I have
Go ahead,
in mind?
yeah.
So I did that analysis already, residential, because that's what I was losing sleep over to, right? Like, what is the impact there? So the average assessed value right now from 1983 for residential properties is 44,203, and then for current assessment, I don't have at-risk stuff, so I'm just reading off of 281,283. So that's the residential increase. You can see it's, for 482
Mhm.
for everybody, but 281 for that. And then 530 is the average property tax residential right now at 680. At rollback rate, I don't know what it is at the proposed increase, but you can do the math here, add 45% to 680, right? So we can try to.
Well, or the
So I-
new
when I
assessed
was
value
doing this-
times 0.36.
Yeah, what I was doing right now, exactly. So if we do 281, so let me do a quick math here, 281, 283. 281, annual, 281. Let's say 283. What was it, what's the rate?
0.36 and a bunch of other numbers.
That's okay, 0.36 will suffice, right?
78158.
0.36,
78158.
78. What did I say for the value of the home? 281, 283. Yeah. 1,034. So we're talking difference from going from
Say 500
five thirty to about, so about a double 134, I guess, if we can. A little under 50, yeah.
We're already increasing to the 680.
I'm not getting your numbers.
Six,
and I'm
they're
using
getting a
numbers.
680 at a rollback rate regardless what we do.
680.
as-
Understood, but they're still going
Which-
from 530 to
Which gives you
680.
the argument that residential now is paying a higher percentage than commercial.
Correct.
Because
It is. No, it is
otherwise,
for sure. It is.
residential would be
I've done
staying
that.
at 530.
I've done that. Yes.
Well, that's why we're asking for the
Exactly. The
charter
variable.
change
exactly.
to allow for
Yeah.
variable tax rate.
Yeah.
But until we know if that's been granted, we have to go.
And I have
with what
that
we
in here as well, I'll get to it.
Yeah, there's, they're between 0.3 and 0.4, something like that. I can't remember. I did that too, but
But I can, at the next meeting and whatever the next proposed rate will be, I can show the different options in it, I can show different areas and.
I did see the bill was introduced by Senator Poor and Representative Mimi Brown.
Yes.
So that's good news. Just to clarify, it would be effective this year,
not
if they
necessarily-
voted in.
Not necessarily, so I'll get there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so there's a lot of caveats to the tax rate recommendation. Everything is subject to change. We are going to review the budget next week. You may have some change requests for me. So we will, work that in.
So
We
could
have
we
the-
get a, an added one in there for maybe a halfway view of getting there, as a step up to?
Yeah.
Take from savings?
Right, and yeah, and taking less from savings, but still some this year or next year, fiscal 26. And then again, at least to step up the increase instead of one huge increase.
So then, we also have the charter changes, which were sent to the state. They've been added, or they should be added to the committees soon. So hopefully that will be in the next week or so. And hopefully they'll be approved by the end of their, year. And if they are approved, we will have to get the governor to sign them. If we don't know when that's going to be done, and we don't know if it will be in time for our budget. So everything with that is up in the air. And then we also have potential legislative changes from council, including council ordinance or resolutions, such as the ordinances that will be considered at the next council meeting regarding funds and regarding property transfer.
So if we
So-
did a little lobbying to the governor to assist, to see if he could sign it quickly, would that assist?
Potentially, but it still has to. go
Has
through
to
the
pass the
House.
state
Well,
legislature.
understood,
Yeah,
but again, they end, June 30th, so it would have to be before then, so.
But there are other,
anything's possible, but.
there are other municipalities that have these,
Have charter changes in.
well, no, have these variable
Yes,
other ones, so it's not like we're setting a precedent, we're just doing this what somebody else is doing.
Correct, we just can't bank on that right now again.
Right,
because it's not-
absolutely, I get it, but it's not like it's gonna go, oh my God, we've never heard of this before, it's.
Yeah, I'm just reading on bill details. Yesterday was introduced and assigned to Elections and Government Affairs Committee and Senate, so that's good news, I guess.
Is that
So
the
I
date?
don't know when it's, I don't have
They
the
didn't give me
date
a
here,
date.
but we can probably go to calendar and figure it out. All their public meetings are on the calendar, so we can figure that. I
So,
mean, assuming it would be on agenda, but I think it would be.
that's all I have for right now. Do you have any other questions?
I just wanted to commend you too for putting a summary of the budget together.
Very nice.
Because I know I'm not sure this, this was one of those things that I was talking about, like there's a lot of detail
Yeah.
provided in the past and right now. But this is kind of like a very brief first step for us to understand where we are as a city, so.
and for the public, because the
Yeah.
document's available to the public
It's
as
a,
well.
it's a very tough time to make any decisions around this because federal government, state, county, everybody's adjusting to a new norm. There's reassessed trend 40+ years for us, no tax increase for 14+ years or so. All the prices going up of everything, cost of living, so all that combined, we're put in a, tough position here, but this helps us kind of understand what are the levers of what is driving an increase, what is driving a decrease, what are our options, so thanks guys.
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna be huge, if whoever has a mortgage, your mortgage is gonna increase, because they're gonna need more in escrow.
Right.
And so this is gonna be a huge impact on the people in town.
Well, I completely understand that, but at some point we have to do something.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
we have to
and
make
the thing about
decision
this
of how
is,
to do it.
without any action unless you even rollback rate, as I show now, is gonna have impact on people's,
Oh, yeah.
mortgages. So that's the effect of 40+ years of, 5 years from now, when there's a reassessment, it shouldn't have that much big of an impact, but 40+ years, property is going up. I was looking at property today, like 1,000%, like that's huge.
So with that said, on the commercial side, did theirs go down by chance since?
On average,
There-
some up,
Might have
some
been
down, but
some, yeah.
about, I think $400,000, if my memory serves me right, in total out of 3.1 million. Like whatever share they were paying, let's say a million, it went down to, let's say, by 400,000. I can't remember the number.
Their tax bill don't go
But tax
down,
bill.
but their share of.
Yeah, the share of all
overall
industrial, yeah,
taxes
so
goes
somebody's
down.
paying more, sorry,
Yeah,
Garrison, for example, is paying more. But some other place that went in average less in appraised value is paying less than. But imagine now industrial complex paying, let's say 50,000 out, getting to pay 30. That's a lot of households out there have covered a 20,000 difference, and that's why.
And that's
We're
why
trying to
we've
get this
asked for the
differential,
variable
yeah.
tax rate.
yeah. Yeah, cause even if we get it to the point where we just.
Make
even
it
them
roll
out,
back.
Keep them even,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it'll be much easier for this budget.
Right,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
obviously in setting the rates, we have to look at what our surrounding communities are doing, so we don't tax businesses, drive businesses to other places.
Yeah.
I mean, as we saw from the study the students did, we're kind of in the mid-range right now with the existing tax rates. And it'd probably be a good idea to stay in that mid-range.
Yeah,
But
some
everybody
of
else
the-
is gonna be shifting too, because they're all responding to the reassessments just like we are.
Yeah, from what Councilperson Mataway and those students made, like, one of the things I've been noticing, like 30% increase has been typical for several cities already, so, I'm not surprised by this. But it is significant, very significant,
Absolutely.
Do we have a summary identifying how the commercial potentially is going down? So that we can provide this to our representatives to push this through and get it approved and get it signed?
I can provide that if you'd like.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be helpful. So when we go, I'll go talk to the governor and then see what we can do to say, hey, when this comes through and you sign it immediately, get them to send it through to us. Even if we have to go on the board one day when this is all happening, we need
Well,
talking points with that.
right, well, they'll be notifying us when the committee hearings will be, and Ms. Tantillo will be attending, and perhaps some of us as well.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a good statistic to have
absolutely.
Absolutely.
for that testimony.
Right, absolutely. I agree. Yep, I'll provide that.
Thank you, thank you.
Anything else? I didn't wanna, give you this and expect you to ask me for additions, revisions, other projects, anything you want immediately. So take time, digest it, and we'll come back next.
Yeah, that's.
Can we
good.
talk about one?
Okay,
It's gonna sound funny. Garbage cans.
okay.
So I had someone complain to me that they're always picking up Bull Hill, the little park there, because there's no garbage cans and I don't know what it would take maybe in some of our little parks to be able to get some cans and municipal services to be able to pick it up. But I understand as opposed to what you bring in, you're supposed to take out. That doesn't always happen. Thank you.
But I'll add, we take a dog with us to the walk to Bull Hill with our kids and they play there and then, granted my dog poops there, then I have to walk all the way to Harmony, the closest, but we put in a stroller, I carry in my hand, so it is inconvenient. Personally, I've done that myself, or
Well-
we have picnic oftentimes there, so, there's always some sort of trash I'm carrying with me.
Putting a can there by that playground in Bull Hill should not be a huge burden on
Shouldn't add
Public
much, yeah.
Works, because they're going down that street anyway to collect the trash.
No, I'm trying to hit with
But
all the different
all
parks that
of
we
them,
Yeah,
have.
I agree, yeah.
So-
Most of them are, if you put it on the road, they wouldn't be that much.
Yeah, something right there that
Awesome,
we
okay.
could
I don't
have.
think the issue is on trash day, but many times those fill up a lot more frequently,
Not
so they
only-
need
Yeah, I
every other
agree.
day or something.
And then sometimes, if it's not a carry out park, then people could potentially be more inclined to leave their trash there. And not actually put it in the trash can. So some people will be more enticed to do it, but then.
But putting a
never.
can there doesn't cost very much.
Right,
And
yeah,
for those who are inclined to do the right thing,
right,
it
Yeah.
gives them a place to do it.
Right.
And encourages others to do the same if you make it convenient for them
yeah,
without a huge extra
Yeah,
cost to us because
Yeah.
Public Works is driving right by the
Right.
park in Bull Hill to collect the trash from those houses, so.
Mhm.
I don't think they would also overflow in these smaller parks, but I see battery overflowing, all
Yeah.
the time, so I don't know if we need to add another one, I know
Well,
there's
we
already
talked
two.
about putting
But, like, I
extras.
don't see Bull Hill or Dobbinsville or Buttonwood necessarily overflowing. I'm not too concerned about that.
yeah, I'll evaluate that cost
Yeah.
and see if.
I mean, we
That'd be
can
great.
certainly start with one and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And if they're overflowing, then maybe we need to put a second.
And maybe even adding third one at Battery where the parking lot is, because it does overflow often, so I don't know.
Yeah,
if-
we
if
talked
that
about
does-
that
yeah,
today.
Just to see what the cost of that is too, so.
What I see is the one at the tennis courts usually
Tennis courts?
is full and people leave the bags around.
Oh, the one
Right,
that
Which at
is
least they're
kind of,
getting it close.
can you add that one too, Antonina, in a quote?
I mean, I don't know, the cans, the old cans that were taken in when we bought the new ones a few years ago. I know some of them were in too bad condition to be used again, but some of them, if they had were painted to
Mm,
look better, might be
That'd be
useful
okay.
in some of these smaller parks, at least as a start. As a trial to see how it goes.
Yeah,
yeah,
Mhm.
okay, I'll price that out and see what we
Then
can
talk to
salvage.
Rick, how many extras do we have? And usable older cans, because guys could spray paint them or something to make them look a
Yeah,
little.
some of
better.
those are pretty beat to,
Well, yeah, the ones that are rusted out in the bottom and all that, they've probably already gotten rid of them.
Mhm.
But the ones that are serviceable and have put a little paint on them to make them look better.
Yeah, all right,
So-
I'll.
So to
I'll-
stick on to the trash situation, it's always good to talk about trash. I know I'm not looking to have extra fees on this, but I mean, today I saw them going around picking up the yard waste and stuff. Those people don't have the containers that are roll that can pick up and go, so they have to literally take these containers and put them in. Have we
Yes,
thought
so I
about,
applied, I mentioned this, I don't know, in January. I applied for an EPA grant to purchase new containers.
that we can get out to the people for like a
Yes.
small fee or
New
something?
yard
or-
waste containers, you mean?
Yeah,
Yard waste and I think recycling.
Okay.
I think the focus is recycling. Sorry, recycling, yeah. So, I don't know, it was an EPA grant, so it was federal. I'm not sure if that, we'll see that. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
But the bags that you buy at, BJ's or Costco or wherever, the tall.
that's
paper
what
bag,
we use.
That's what we use too, and they're not terribly heavy, because I carry it from our backyard out to the curb when it's time to put them out.
Mhm.
So those would not be too difficult for the public works people to pick up.
I just know a lot of people don't have them and they're using the regular ones. I don't know if we have workman comp issues or anything from picking those up instead of rolling it and stuff.
Well-
Something we should consider for recycle and the, stuff. Somehow we can get them as maybe a reduced cost and then people can purchase them and.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
recycling bins roll.
Yeah,
they do.
it would be a pretty, sort of, just from my knowledge of pricing out for the recycling, it would be a pretty significant cost. Like a few $100,000.
Well, it's not for everyone, but,
Well, you have to offer it.
well,
For the people who already
limited
have-
supply. A lot of people have, but there's a lot that don't.
Right. I'm just saying it's a large investment that we can consider funding with a grant. I don't know if we wanna consider that right now. But to your point about workers' comp, staff does go to like safety meetings with our workers' comp insurance company, and they learn how to properly work things and so.
I don't even know if we need, like, we have a trash container, we have a yard waste container, but we use the bags, and then we have the basic recycling, that's that yellow and blue one. But the other two are just regular,
Mhm.
and we just put that out on Wednesdays if it has anything in it. Otherwise, we don't have a special yard waste. I mean, we just designate it ourselves, but.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't have I've seen some people with the tan
Mhm.
Yeah, I got
old
one.
bins, they look a lot like the recycle bins,
Yeah.
except they're tan.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't have a very big yard, so I
Yeah,
don't want an
I don't.
extra container
Just have
sitting
trees,
around.
Yeah.
I'd rather use the bags, but people with bigger yards have more yard waste and they may want the bin.
But I would agree, I mean, even when I fill mine up, I just put the rest of it in the recycling and take them both out there. You know what I mean, as long as it's on the day that it's supposed to be,
Mhm.
there's no
Right,
issues,
right,
they
yeah.
check and make
Yeah, they
sure,
do.
but,
And they can wheel it up and put it in the thing that flips
Yeah.
it, so they don't have to lift it.
right.
What happens, for example, when somebody moves and they already have a bin, a yard waste bin?
Well, it depends on if that person decides to take the bin with them or
Right,
not. That's a,
Depends on
you
where
know,
they're
they,
going.
if they, well, when I first moved here, you just had to call and you got.
Right, I didn't. have to
Thing,
pay
you
for
just
it.
got the bin. I didn't get a yard waste one. I got a small recycling and obviously needed to go to a larger one, but they just brought it out and they
Right.
took away the small one and left me a large one. And when I moved from Second Street up to the corner, we just pulled our
Oh, well, yeah.
recycling with us.
My
But we-
understanding that the city used to provide them, but
Mhm.
we don't have them.
no,
Yeah.
no, and they don't, and we were told
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years ago that we don't even have any more of them or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Working
when they
stuff out
first
for
started the
them.
recycling, they offered the bins for free.
They had got a grant,
Yeah,
and then they ordered how many they could, and then it was like first come, first served.
right.
Are there any other top of mind
I just had,
or questions?
two questions that I had regarding revenue, for two different lines. So franchise fees and,
Where are you?
page 23 of the itemized budget. I'll wait for everybody to get there.
Yeah.
The last two items, I'm just wondering, is franchise fees now just starting, like, is this our new norm? You know, you see 130, 112, 112, 89, 51. I know it's not end of the year, but
Mhm.
we're even reducing that by 25,000 going forward. Are we even, you know, should that even be less because, you know, it's 89 or 80?
I think we're still due one more.
One more payment?
Well, we still have May to go,
Mhm.
and then June.
But is this basically, is this one of those things that the fees are much lower now, so we're not,
The fees is-
125 is not really reality
The
anymore?
fees is based off a contract, based on someone else's revenue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you think about it, there's people who have cable and
Yeah.
phone
So that- that's-
service.
So less people have cable.
Yeah.
So that's a dime, that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
We
dime.
might wanna adjust it to
Revenue.
75,000 or 80, but depending on what we end up this year.
Right.
Because it seems like year before that, it was
I
a
needed.
little under 90,000, and then I don't know, we end up with this one.
It's
I would base that off of those 2 years rather than the prior years, I guess. So just kind of, if you can, keep an eye on that, to
Yeah.
adjust that 100,000 to lower number, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we're not counting.
Yeah,
for
and that's
the-
why we even reduced it, and like you said, it might not be enough to reduce it, but
Everything's
I don't
covered.
know why we
All this
continue that
program
125
that
because we clearly aren't.
Mhm.
doing that.
I think it was just, yeah.
I
I
think during
wonder,
COVID, people had
Yeah.
cable because you were sitting in the house, but I think now that people are back outside, it's like, what's on TV?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how many people have cut the cord because it was getting so expensive.
Right.
I mean, all I did, you know,
We just
some
have
other
internet
people,
and apps.
we just do internet for $79.99 now and then you
And then
have.
$300 for all the apps.
Yeah,
to watch
exactly.
the-
No, I never- everything else.
For you. So that's great. And then.
But you
the
have
same-
kids that need to watch TV.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean.
they get you like
But
that.
that's a trend that we obviously
Yeah,
are
yeah.
tracking and need to look to try to replace.
And then
Or
same
not,
thing for,
not
yeah.
be reliant upon.
Right, I mean, it's not a huge proportion of our budget, but you're right, we still
But
need to pay
50,000
attention to
potentially,
it.
right? If it goes from 125, what we budgeted to, let's say 75. That's 50, you know,
Yeah.
50,000 difference, you know, so I mean, it is gonna reflect somewhere. And then for the Verizon, next line, is that increasing for a reason? I'm seeing from 82 all the way to 112 this last year and 107 right now. So is that kind of counter from what we just talked about because more people are needing internet,
It's the
post-COVID
same-
kind of like argument?
It's based on their revenue.
Yeah. Okay, so that one's realistically,
Maybe more
Looking to be
people are
this
calling
number.
Verizon rather than Comcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
and then my last question is, I'm sure the answer is gonna be, I don't know, but I still wanna ask it if you can look into it, Courtney. For interest other, so next page 24. Can you look into the last 4 or 5 months to see and compare it to the entire year to see if the growth of interest that monthly interest that we accrued is lower? Are we basically having impact from the federal government, policies in slower,
And
lower
has-
account?
It
Portfolio.
has lowered, I can give you the exact
Mhm,
number,
yeah.
email it to you, but it has lowered some, but that's because the money that's in our account
It's small.
So, yeah,
So
so
the res-
as we keep using the money in our account, it's going
Yeah,
up.
and we get.
It would be great
Yeah.
if you could calculate return on investment for each month to just,
You said
you know,
one.
like 7% or 5 or 3 or whatever it is
You
for
went
each
the
month.
amounts for you said 4 months, 5 months?
It'd be great to know what was before that, what was from
Like the
July
first
1
half.
through December. You can do an average return on investment for that, and then ever since monthly would be great. Just curious. So I know it's a weird question, but just
How
wanna
about
know.
just a monthly break?
I'm just trying to see if there's a pattern that we're gonna have to account for going forward there too, as it relates to how much we anticipate, $100,000, you know, all those things, like I said,
Would a monthly breakdown, you got it free?
it'll be amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions or comments? Mr. Day, Mr. Nottaway?
No, I just wanted to thank Ms. Cantillo and Ms. Taylor for their efforts, with the presentation, and, certainly want to thank, everyone here at this table for their efforts in advance, during this budget season. I know there's a lot of extra meetings, and I know the community is going to be better, because we're having these conversations, so thank you.
Okay.
I do remember one more thing for nonprofit.
Yeah.
Did we have, did Little League reach out for the contribution request? Because I think there was a conversation.
Yeah, they did not.
About it. Do you mind reaching out? I know this is.
I gave her my card.
Okay, never mind then. If they,
And Brian also, connected us via email,
Okay.
but she didn't.
and then for the jerseys and sponsor, like for the,
Yeah,
I know I have questions for next, I'll keep a lot of questions for next week, but are we keeping sponsorship for William Penn and Little League for next year as well in this budget that you presented today?
It's an advertising. That's what we're like.
And under mayor and
We didn't-
council?
Last year, there was I think it was last year, there
Yeah,
was
it's
a,
500 for the t-shirt.
it was 500 to put an ad on the t-shirt.
Oh, right.
That was for
And
William
they
Penn.
have asked this year, and I directed them to you.
It would be
Yeah,
great to
we
keep William Penn
approved
and
it for
Little
last
League.
year's budget and, we got their sponsorship.
Did they call you?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because I referred
Yeah,
them
and we
to
did
you.
increase the advertisement line, so yes, it accommodated.
It's in there,
Mhm.
both for Little League and William Penn, sorry, just to confirm. Like, it would be
Yeah.
great to sponsor a Little League team like we did this year, as well
Well,
as
we
William
do,
Penn.
don't we? I mean.
Well, we did
But
this
from
year,
last,
we
from,
seen-
I'm saying for this coming up budget, to keep that for.
Yeah.
Whenever, the new season comes, I guess, so we're not adding in mid-year in our budget. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, public comments, the usual rules, please sign in, with your address, and you have 3 minutes.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for working on getting the budget and everything, proposed budget together. But I gotta say, there's only 2 people here from the community, and it is up to the council president to allow people more time,
I don't know what you mean.
meaning 3 minutes.
Well, this is the first meeting, you can have more comments at future meetings.
Thank you. So you're refusing to increase the time?
At this point, yes.
Thank you. It seems like it's the same old shit that's been going on for years. Incompetence, spending, instead of figuring out ways to be creative like, Councilman Manaway and Nerm, wanting to be creative. You 3 continuously jump on them when they bring up proposals. Oh, no, this isn't good, this isn't good. But yet, I've said for years, instead of looking at different things, you need to cut from the budget. Mainly, no city marketer unless it's a grant. Trash, was there any decision on a separate additional trash fee?
We have not moved to set one.
Okay. The increase of committees and commissions, that's ridiculous. There shouldn't be any increases. And I definitely think 2 things that could easily be cut out is the flood resiliency. I checked in Dover, there will be no money, no grants, no anything. And I checked with, our federal, person in Washington, because I get the luxury of going there every year, or every week, sorry. So that committee is a waste of money. We meet and there's no results, and there will be no results. I just think that, again, instead of spending money, cut back on our city's money, so the impact on the residents will be minimal, not half now and we'll hit them next year. The other thing is, our website. Without a doubt, we've got to implement a way for the community members to opt in so that they can receive meeting notices and other pertinent information. Because as you see, this is a farce. You're gonna decide for the whole city, and the whole city doesn't seem to feel it's important to show up. You need to get out there and get people motivated. I mean, that's just the way it is, and you don't seem too motivated to go do it. So again, you've been kicking the can down on costs. Need to solve the problems.
Thank you. Ms. Fisk, did you have anything to say, or do you simply want me to read your email?
Oh, yes, if you would, but also.
All right, yeah, one or the
Yeah,
other,
one
you may
option.
speak, or I'll read the letter, but you can't have both.
Oh, all right, well, all of the council members have gotten it, so.
Okay, so you can
Yeah.
speak,
Okay.
okay.
Because I do have something, I don't know whether this would be germane at this
Okay,
time.
yeah, sign in and then we can
Right,
start.
It's just that there is something that a number of people mentioned among themselves, and I think several council have brought up at one time, would be to have well, we have, as you know, we have the, when we get an MSC bill, we have sort of a newsletter.
Mhm.
That it would be so valuable to have, I think, to have an email sent out to everybody in town who wants one, either monthly or bi-monthly. For instance, I got some incredibly valuable information from Brian Mattaway. I had been at a meeting, but frankly, my hearing is not too great at the moment, and I did hear something and I wasn't sure what it was, and then it slipped my mind because I've had a lot of other things going on. And there's, as you know, there are a lot of people who don't go to meetings at all. There are a lot of people who don't look at the recordings. And this particular thing happened to be the $3,000 for the county that some people can access with the new, the new,
The senior tax.
Senior tax.
the new assessments that have gone on. And I'm sure there are a lot of people in town that don't know about it. As Mr. Mattaway suggested, I did mention it to several people that I know who are very interested to have it. It just seems that we do have that code red that so people can be accessed that way, but why not have something that everybody can get that will have anything really important that council discusses at the council meetings? Frankly, the weekly is not something that a lot of people see all the time. And it shouldn't be a responsibility of people to subscribe to the weekly in order to find out what's going on. And that's my comment.
All right, thank you.
Oops.
I just wanted to ask about an email Like, that would be hard, like, we would have to have people opt in, right, because we don't have a database of emails. It's just that-
So we're, with the students, who are working on the project to update the website,
Mhm.
we'll be implementing, an opt-in email for our website. But we're coordinating with the state on that, so it's taking some time, but there will eventually be that opportunity.
Code Red, how many signed up for Code Red?
I have to check the latest numbers.
And in the meantime, because email is gonna take a while, Code Red only has people who opted in. Can you use Facebook and Instagram or whatever we have accounts in social media to create advertisements for the upcoming budget meetings, budget workshops? That'll be
Yeah, I'll
great.
just put
Thank you.
the slide on.
When I was running for council member, you can have a targeted ad for a certain region.
Mhm.
So I think you can just kind of play with the demographics,
Mhm.
18 plus,
Sure.
the region of, if you get neighbors who are not necessarily in the city of Newcastle, because you can't dissect at that level, I think it's still okay, to get, 10,000 people to see instead of 6,000, I think it's no harm really. We have money for advertisements, right? There, in the admin budget.
We're over on that.
Okay. Is there anything in the council one that we can use?
Probably, I'll double check.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Nothing else.